I'm Krishna Boyapati, but on my records it's Krishna Murthy Boyapati, but it's shortly Krishna Boyapati. I did MTech during 1971 to 1973 in Department of Metallurgy. In those days, it was called Department of Metallurgy. And after the master's, I got a scholarship, full scholarship to Monash University to do PhD, Monash University in Melbourne. So I came to do PhD. That was how I came to Australia. It was a time when there were very few Indians here, or very few Asians here. I was one of the maybe just a handful of people here. And so that's how I came at that time. So after I did a PhD, I got a job with Department of Defense in Canberra, Canberra being the capital city. So that's how I moved from Melbourne to Canberra. And Canberra is the headquarters for defense. And my job was the materials, senior materials engineer with Navy as a civilian. So I was stationed in Canberra, and most of the time I spent in defense. And I retired around when I was 65, and now I'm 72. So it's almost 7 years since I retired. So that in a brief is my career. Now after that, in this time period, I have done a couple of things. I was sent on deputation with the rank of a professor to Michigan State University in Lansing, East Lansing, to in that I think it was about in 2003 to the Department of Chemical Engineering and Material Science. So I was a professor for one academic year there, and then I came back to defense here after that. So that was one of the major achievements. And I was one of the first Indians as well as Asians to have received a J.M. Juran medal. That is the highest honor one could have in quality engineering. I was, in fact, even now, I'm the only Indian and Asian to be one of the members of that Australian Juran College of Medalists. So that's these are my highlights. But coming back to my, while I'm an engineer by profession and a scientist and a professor and academician, my heart is in writing. I'm a sort of an author, and I like to tell stories. So I have written a book in 1997, which got a forward from Canberra, ACT, Australian Capital Territory, Chief Minister, Kate Cornell. That book is more personal. It's more about migration, internal migration within India, how my ancestors came and other things. So that was a different story that I wrote. And I was able to do all that while I was working full time. So even now I wonder how I did it. But now coming back to this current story, this is where my heart lies. And because this is something I have been thinking for a long time. And I have written this story in the last a year or so, because it's really set in IIT Madras. Now, let me say now, why this book? There are so many, it really goes back to this, the heart of the story. The heart of the story is how I, as an MTech student, met a girl called Kamala, as per the story. And I meet her on the first day of the maths class. And I fall in love with her and all those things. And then it develops, the story develops from then on, and pulls in all the icons of IIT Madras, the Gajendra Circle, the canteen, the temples. All these are mentioned in the story, because that are they are the places where our love affair, you can say, that just blossomed. And now there was also another thing that I had in mind while writing the story, that here we have Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, a great institution. And since I have been to many universities in the world, and I can definitely say that IIT Madras stands right on top of the best, Princeton or Harvard or anything. I can tell you that. Certainly in facilities and other things, and definitely in the amenities, and particularly in the naturalistic way the campus is located. And so I wanted to describe that. I wanted to describe how beautiful it is. And in fact, I fell in love on the first day itself. And that's what I write in my book, that, on the first day I fell in love with the campus. And then having fallen in love with the campus, now afterwards I've fallen in love with a girl. So which is very unusual in those days. So I do describe the whole campus, and I can tell you that some of the Australians here have read the story and they read the book, and one of them even commented that it is so nice, the description, that he wanted to take the next flight and come to and see IIT Madras, and I felt very happy when he said that. Now, it's not only himself who said that, even my classmate, I did engineering, Bachelor of Engineering in Tiruchi, now called NIT. And even my classmate, his name is Dayanidhi. And he said, after reading my book, he said, look, I felt like catching a bus and coming straight and seeing the campus. Okay, he hasn't seen the campus. He lives in Madras. So I feel that having written this one, I have really, created that enthusiasm for the whole world to see how beautiful the campus is, and those the facilities that we have. And when I have tied that, when the whole thing is tied up with a love story, it becomes even more wonderful. And I think that is the really crux. And
so tell us about Kamala.
Sorry?
So tell us about Kamala.
Oh yeah. Yes, I think you can. It's actually, reading is more interesting there than whatever I can say. I have described everything there, how I met her, and how I even say why I fell in love in the first place, because I think I say in my book that when I was doing year 12 in Betham Charla, I used to have a crush, and I think all of us have crushes. I'm not the only one. When I was year 12, that is SLC in those days, I used to have a crush on a girl called Nagaratnama in a place called Betham Charla. It was like a village, but we had a high school there. And she used to have a nice jimkis, and I used to really like those jimkis. So when I saw on the first maths class, we were all outside the room waiting for the professor to come in. And here we were all male students on one side and the girl on the other side. And she was wearing the jimkis, and I fell for the jimkis again. So I go and introduce myself, which is in those days, I think the current generation may not really understand how things were in those days. You just can't talk to the opposite gender. The rules were very strict, and the society now wouldn't accept it. So somehow I just went and said hello to her, and then it's the whole thing starts from there. But you know, that's how the I could say the love affair has started, and then it goes on, and then you know, I don't want to tell the full story to keep the suspense in place, but you know. Afterwards, I described that Indian attire. You see, the Indian attire for ladies is very, very unique. And nobody else wears those sort of things. And nobody knows, like the jimkis, in those days, it's the half sari or those things. It's very unique to India. So when I described that in the book, people really like it. You know, in this country at least, and I'm sure in the whole world. And in fact, quite a few of my friends, after reading my book here in Australians, they said they have ordered jimkis by post from India. You know, they were so taken in by those you know, jewelry that I described. So I guess I have sort of I have inculcated an interest for the whole world about not just our campus, but our way of life. And plus this, the way of life that existed in 70s when, you know, the genders were strictly separated. Now I want to tell you one other thing here. Another reason why I wrote the book is, as I said, the Penguin Australia, and they're quite a big companies. I mean, sorry, not Penguin Australia, Penguin India and Rupa Publication India. They wanted you know, to publish my book, but they put conditions. They said, you know, I had to make it more spicy. I had to do this. I had to put, you know, the 3-letter words there, whatever happens, to make it more interesting to the readers. I said, no, then it destroys the whole story. It's about true love. And so I said, that's fine. And I said, thank you. And I did it my own. I did my own publication, self-published. That's how it came to be self-published. Otherwise, it would have, you know, gone to Penguin India. I probably would have got a lot more money and a lot more fame, but I'm not interested in either of them. I just want to record how it was in those days. That's my you know, main aim. And the other thing is also, ultimately what I want to tell you one other personal thing. About a year ago, or a bit more than that, I had a major illness. And that set alarms in me. And I thought, you know, if something happens to me, the whole story, it'll just disappear. You know, who's going to say it? So that sort of gave an impetus for me to write this. And now, from now onwards, looking forward, my aim is, well, I have written it, and something happens to me, I want to give this on a disc to my grandkids and say, look, they're about 4 years now. In 50 years from now, you might be 54, 55 years. In 50 years, it'll be 100 years. Then you republish it and tell the world. And imagine, people don't believe now what I wrote, some of the things, like how the genders behave strictly, you can't talk to a girl. The current Indian generation, forget about the overseas, Indian generation, they don't believe that. Was it like that? They ask me. I mean, so I have some of my Indian young people here, when they read the story, they said, oh, was it like that? So if they don't believe it now, imagine how it will be in another 50 years from now. It will be, so I just wanted to preserve a way of life. That was one of my main aim also in writing this one.
So at the end of the book, do we know where Kamala is now?
That is a suspense.
But we read the book, we know, right?
Yeah, definitely you will know. Definitely you will know, but you probably, I will advise you keep a handkerchief with you. Oh. But yes, that's the reason why I wrote. And as I said,
what was more beautiful, IIT Madras or Kamala?
Oh, of course, Kamala. No, there's no question. In fact, you will realize that at the last page, you will realize that how I mean, she was more important than my degree. You will see what happens to my degree actually. In the last page. So that's the and as I said, really my aim is okay, I publish it now, but I'm really going to give my disc to my grandkids and say just republish it in 50 years as a 100 years mark. That's very easy to say. That's number one is OIT. OIT, Open Air Theatre, number one, without doubt, because I am a film buff, and Kamala was also a film buff. And for us, hanging around OIT on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, I think it used to be 8 o'clock unless they changed it. So that's one of my most favorite place. And the second one is the canteen. The canteen, it used to be called staff canteen in those days, but anyone can go. Although it's called a staff canteen, students can go, and we used to go, And why I say canteen is because it's as described in the book. One of the most favorite stories I tell happened to be in canteen. So, these are the two places that I can definitely say that my favorites.